Warning, viewer listener discretion is advised. The majority of the content of this program is not fact-checked, and it is highly advised that it not be used for teaching your children from said content, other than making an example out of the hosts of what they should not grow up to be. Remember this, it's the beer talking.
Hey, sit back.
Crack open your favorite brew and pour it into a frosty mug.
Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode.
Yes, thank you. I'm Keith Davidson.
And I'm Papa Joey Stay.
And we're your hosts for The Truth About Beer and...
Yeah, we're a podcast and YouTube channel where we get to talk about all the crap that we're interested in.
And best of all, you get to do it while sharing a brew amongst friends. Hey, and if you're a returning listener or YouTube watcher, thank you so much for coming back.
Yes, thank you. But if you're a first-timer, well, thanks again.
Yep.
Yeah, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And don't forget, on the bottom of the YouTube page, there's that little notification bell. Make sure you click on it, because what that'll do for you is our new episodes.
Yeah, you'll get an alert every time we release a new one.
That way you won't miss out on it, like today's episode.
Yeah, and we're really excited about today's episode.
Yes, we are. We hope you enjoy it.
Yes, we do.
Everybody, cheers.
Cheers.
So here we are.
Wow. Episode 205, huh?
Yes. The Truth About Beer. That was good. We actually said it together. Yeah. That's awesome.
Let's try that. 1, 2, 3. The Truth About Beer and Atomic America, an Alien Conspiracy.
Ooh.
Shall I do it?
Do it. Yeah, the mystery.
What does that mean? Do I ask that every time?
That can mean a lot of things.
I think I do. You know, we've got something special for this one.
Julian Cherry Bomb.
Yeah. Kind of a departure from beer, but, you know, it's still a brew.
Well, it's a hard cider, so.
Yeah. And it's got bomb in it.
Which happens to be about our episode.
Wow. That was
amazing.
Well thought.
How do we think of this shit? Well, cheers.
Well, cheers
to episode 205.
205 and Cherry Bomb.
Cherry Bomb. It's a 6.99 ABV.
I like that.
What, the fact that it's got a 6.99 or you like the beer?
Both, yeah. Yeah, it's pleasant on the taste buds and
it is.
And good for the spirit.
So it's brewed in Julian, California. I have no idea where that is, but
I do not know myself.
It's I believe it's a little bit northeast of San Diego.
Oh, that's why.
If I remember.
When I lived in California, I lived in the San Joaquin Valley.
Okay.
You know, so we're talking, you know, Bakersfield and Fresno, those fine places.
I lived in LA, but we won't talk about that.
That was short-lived, wasn't it?
Yeah, very short-lived. After my first earthquake and a drive-by shooting, that was it for me.
Bye-bye, California.
See ya.
But at least they got some Cherry Bomb, and it's pretty decent.
I don't know if, like I said, I don't know where Julian is. I've never been there, but I wonder if it's like wine country. It'd be nice.
Oh, probably. You said it's northeast?
I think they said it was northeast of San Diego, so.
That's the other direction.
It's by the ocean.
By the ocean. I like the ocean.
Good shit happens by the ocean. Didn't we discuss that?
Yeah, we did. I said I'd like to live by the ocean.
I know.
But I don't know about California. Well, actually, if I was to live in California by the ocean, It would be Monterey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That's a fine place.
You know, I did a trip. I took a trip from LA. I took PCH, Pacific Coast Highway. I took it all the way down to San Diego.
Big cool.
That was a hell of a trip.
I bet.
That was really cool. So I really liked Laguna Beach. Have you ever been to Laguna Beach?
I have not.
It's beautiful there.
I bet it is.
I can't afford it, but
See, I've been to Oceanside, and I've been to San Diego.
yeah.
And I've been to Mexico. So I've been down the Baja, been at Cabo San Lucas,
Ooh.
which is fine. I even went to Sammy Hagar's place.
The bar or whatever he's got.
Yeah, well, Cabo Wabo.
Cabo Wabo, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Doesn't Jimmy Buffett have something down there too?
Well, yeah, they've got Margaritavilles all over the place.
Well, yeah, but specifically in Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't go to a Margaritaville. I've been to a Margaritaville in Jamaica.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You've been to Jamaica? I'm jealous. You've been to Jamaica?
Oh, yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I can tell you when we were in Jamaica, so we went to the Margaritaville. We were on a cruise, and so we got these tickets for free shots at Margaritaville.
Uh-huh.
And so Lisa and I, towards the end, we finally made our way to Margaritaville, and we said, okay, we're going to redeem our shots, right? And so what it was those like drink funnels or whatever, where they have the funnel and a hose, and then they pour it in. And so I did mine. I was okay. Yeah, this is fine. But you had to tell them when you were done, and it was Lisa's turn. And she didn't know that she had to tell them when she was done. Oh, where are we going with this?
I don't know. I was just going to say that we need to do a Truth About Beer cruise.
Oh,
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun.
Where would you go though? Would you go to Mexico or would you go down to the Bahamas?
Oh, they're both great.
I know.
The Bahama one, I mean, is from where we live is very expensive because you got
to fly to Florida.
Yeah, you got to
right?
fly to Florida, or some of them you got to go to Puerto Rico, San Juan,
and go from there.
Yeah, that was one cruise that we had planned to take and would put our money down, and we paid for the whole thing, and this was right after the what was that last big hurricane that the one that took out Puerto Rico. I don't remember the name of that one.
A few of them though.
Well, this one was where it been like 3 years ago.
Shit, I can't remember
maybe.
The name.
And Puerto Rico was totally devastated.
Yeah.
And so
was it Matthew? Was it Matthew? No, it wasn't Matthew.
Gosh, I don't remember the name of it.
I can't either.
But yeah, so we got a call from the cruise line saying it had been canceled. And what was kind of cool about that, this was through Carnival Cruise, is they actually still sent the cruise ships to Puerto Rico as a refuge or as a...
Oh, to rescue people?
Yeah, I mean, so
cool.
People had a place to go. And
very cool.
Yeah, so we gave up our cruise for that. But
you did a good deed.
Yeah.
I guess, in a roundabout
But we
way.
did do a cruise out of Jacksonville. Yeah, and that one's where we went to Jamaica and Grand Cayman.
That'd be cool. I want to go to Bora Bora.
That would be cool.
Because they have those, what are the huts that go out on the water? You got like a pathway that goes out to the hut.
Yeah, that water is just...
That's beautiful.
It's incredible.
The closest I've ever seen to that kind of water, and keep in mind I'm from New York, so our water's not exactly the cleanest on the East Coast.
Because you got water.
I got water.
You got to go where there's water.
Does that make a difference?
Oh, it can.
The cleanest ocean I've ever seen is in Florida. So that's the closest I've ever seen, which is it's pretty clean, but not. I mean, you see pictures down there in Bora Bora. It's like a pool. It's crystal clear.
Well, there's places off Grand Cayman and that yeah. I mean, you can almost see the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah,
and it's it's still 20, 30 feet down, but it's so clear and beautiful.
That would be very cool to do.
Yeah.
Very cool to do.
Swim with the stingrays even. You're making me Jones for another cruise.
That didn't work out too well for Steve Irwin. I don't know if I want to swim with the stingrays.
Yeah.
They're beautiful, though. They're very cool. And the turtles, the sea turtles. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I didn't see any sea turtles. But saw plenty of stingrays. And all they said was just don't jump up and down. It's kind of weird. You're standing out there on a sandbar.
Yeah.
And you're out in the middle of the ocean. I mean, it feels like it because there's, as far as you can see, ocean all around you, but you're standing on this sandbar and these stingrays come up and swim past your legs and feel them, on your calves. And
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
because don't they bury themselves in the sand? Don't they kind of?
I guess they do. I mean, at this point, they're just really swimming out there and going around all these people because we brought food for them.
What kind of food did you bring for them?
Fish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they like that.
You don't get to throw them hot dogs or nothing like that. They don't like that kind of stuff.
No, they kind of like the clean diet.
Yeah.
Stay away from the nitrates.
Their 2020 plan. Luckily, we know somebody who actually works in the travel industry.
We do, yeah.
We do, yeah.
And we're going to have to hit him up on a Tatabian cruise.
I'm thinking so. I'm thinking we need to set that up.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. So are we doing a commercial for cruise lines, or what are we doing here?
I don't know how we got so far off from what we're going to talk about today.
We got way off topic here. Yeah.
But it must be this cherry bomb.
Cherry bomb.
It's really good.
Speaking of bombs, we're going to talk about the bomb.
The bomb.
The bomb, yeah.
The A-bomb.
The A-bomb. The one that started it all.
It's a scary bomb.
It is a scary bomb. But the funny thing is, when you research...
You know what sounds like a bomb? I'm trying to keep it light before we get into this really deep topic. I don't think that's
what the original bomb sounded like, but it may have been.
I'm hearing a wheeze in my voice. How did that happen?
I don't know. Probably because it's raining outside and it's been miserable.
Can you hear the rain? I can't.
I hear crickets. That's the sounds of nature.
You don't really hear crickets when it's raining, though, do you?
No, just at night. You would hear them.
Okay, they went away.
Hey, at least you got the buttons labeled. Now we know what's what.
So. I mean, it helps. It really does. Man, so, I'll help us get on topic.
Okay. Because I can't.
Because I've never really, did any kind of studying or anything like that on the bomb. I know there's a history to it. And, here in the last week or so, trying to do a little research on it.
Prep.
Yeah, trying to prep. There's a lot more I need to know. I mean, there's a lot I didn't know
that you know now.
That I know now.
Yeah.
But isn't it with learning something that once you start learning, you realize that you've only scratched the surface, and there's always so much more to learn. And that it goes with any topic.
Well, somebody told me
I'm really dumb.
Somebody told me years ago, and it stuck with me for all these years. Somebody said, you know what? You stop learning when you die.
Well,
you're learning every day.
Yeah, I that's true.
And, if you think back to your high school days, okay, you probably learned about the bomb in high school. But, shit, who remembers back? I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. You remember what I learned in high school?
Let's see. I had a buffalo salad without the chicken.
You're not proving my point here.
Oh, well, I remember what I had for lunch.
I have no idea what I had for lunch yesterday. I know I had some good tacos last night, but hey.
Oh yeah, my wife had a leftover potato cake from Arby's.
Really? They make potato cakes?
Oh yeah, those are really good.
I didn't know that.
And we had made some pork chops a couple nights before, and the gravy was like unbelievable.
They put that on the potato cakes?
Yeah, so I finished off that potato cake covered with that awesome gravy. It was the bomb. See, I can tie this in somehow.
I like that. That's good. That's good.
Okay, so that was lunch yesterday.
All right. So you remember that, but I just still don't remember what I learned in high school. So
High school. Well, I don't remember graduating from high school. I know I did because I have a diploma.
right,
But,
somewhere. I lost mine years ago.
but that's about as far as it went.
So, all right. So we don't remember what we learned in high school, but we were exposed to it in high school. We were exposed to the bomb. We learned about World War II. We learned about the Nazis. We learned, we I don't even know if they teach that shit today. Probably not. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what they teach in school today.
Things make me mad. So I try to stay away from things that make me mad.
Okay.
But, they only teach us what they want us to learn. There's so much more that we need to learn to be informed, but I think they only teach us enough to be semi-stupid.
Wait, you really want to use stupid or naive?
Naive. That
naive
works.
is a better word, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stupid just has more of a...
A definitive.
Yeah.
You're dumb.
But yeah, but naive, yeah. That
I
works.
think naive is better. The more naive we are, the better.
For them.
Anyway. For them, right. Exactly.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. That's like what we talked about with the UFOs, right? I mean, that's why we're naive about it, because they don't want us to know the truth.
No. There's too much to lose
But now there's a lot coming out
if everybody
about it.
knows the truth.
Yeah.
Which, if you asked me that 2 months ago, I would have said, you're nuts.
Right.
But
we learned a lot, though. But again, we're always learning.
yeah, we are.
Like I learned I thought, okay, World War II is where we learned how to make the atom bomb. That's when we discovered uranium. That's when that was my impression, right?
Mm-hmm.
I learned something totally different in prepping for this episode.
That it happened way earlier than that?
Centuries earlier,
That's nuts.
which is pretty crazy. I also I was really hoping, I had two reasons for wanting to do this episode. One was I wanted to tie it into our apocalypse theme, because we already did the zombie apocalypse. So I figured what better way to follow that up with a nuclear apocalypse.
Definitely create one.
And it could be, I would, like we talked about in the zombie episode, we said, look, what are the odds of a zombie apocalypse? We said there's plenty of other things that we can be a little more realistic about, meteor,
Right.
Nuclear bomb. There's a lot more that I think would be a little more probable than a zombie apocalypse, but you never know.
Yeah. Well, I think the bomb hits a little bit closer to reality than
Yep.
than anything else.
And that's kind of why I wanted to do this episode.
All right. Well, I'm in.
it.
Let's start.
So good.
What are we going to talk
So,
about?
so going back to what I was saying, the discovery of uranium was centuries before, we ever created the bomb. So, back in 1789, uranium was discovered. Do you know where it was discovered?
I don't.
In Germany.
Well, then that makes kind of sense. And how did the Germans discover uranium?
That's a good question. I'm assuming they were digging.
Yeah.
And they came
And then how
across
do you
it.
know that it's something special at that time?
At that time, they probably didn't. They didn't know what they did. They just thought they had a metal, like gold or silver or, something along those lines. But it was almost a century later before they realized that it was radioactive.
Well, they didn't know what that was to begin with.
That's
they
true.
knew that, hey, this thing's got some properties that are funky,
Yeah.
Gold doesn't make me feel funky. It makes me feel like a king.
Gold doesn't make my skin fall off. So 1896 is when they they were able to actually isolate the radioactive properties of uranium. I don't know how they did that, but
Yeah. That's so long ago.
but you got to think though. You know, we talked about so all right. So go back to our UFO episode. Tim brought up a great point that until 1947, we were technically in the Stone Age,
Right.
right?
Yeah. I
Were
mean,
we?
well, as far as what we had for transportation, I mean, we did have the, the combustion engine and, we using fossil fuels for transportation. But yeah, so it was basically that's fire, right?
Right. Right.
And we had the wheel.
We had the wheel.
So we used fire to help turn the wheel.
I think there was a hammer in there too. I believe
yeah.
hammer goes back to caveman days.
Yeah, well, it's still is very useful today.
So 1896 is not that far off. It's almost a turn of the century.
Right.
So we're pretty close. So in 1898, they discovered
Radium.
radium.
And you know how I know about radium?
How do you know about radium?
Because when I was in elementary school, it's probably a third, fourth grade, maybe fifth grade report. I did a report on Marie Curie, who is the one that discovered radium.
Radium.
Her and her husband. And they were Polish immigrants, but still, I think they still have ties to Germany, right?
Yes. Yes, they do.
And so they discovered the radium in the I guess the byproduct from uranium, which they what did they call that?
Pitch blend.
Pitch blend. Yeah,
They call
pitch
it,
blend.
yeah.
And actually the pitch blend was even more radioactive than uranium.
And uranium itself.
Yeah. That they isolated the radium from that pitch blend. And I believe that it'd be fun to find that book report.
Right?
See what it is I actually wrote about her.
What kind of research you did?
Yeah. I know she died as a result
Yeah.
of her, exposure to it. But
Well, it kind of makes sense that you say that radium is more radioactive because if you look at the half-life on radium, it's 1,600 years. Right. When you look at uranium, specifically the 238, which was used in the making of the bomb, it's got a half-life of 4.47 billion years.
wow. So we have to look clear back to 4.7 billion years to find uranium that's actually lost its luster, huh?
Completely. I mean, so uranium was here when the planet formed, basically. I mean,
yeah. And it's still glowing today.
speaking of glowing, you told me an interesting story
Oh, yeah.
about the glowing properties.
And it had to deal with radium. And because it did have a luminous value to it. And so, back in probably earlier in the 20s, I think it was 1917, when they opened up the first kind of this radium plant where they created the paint that they would use on watches. So for painting the hands and the numbers and stuff on watches, so that you're out there in the dark and you want to know what time it is. It's kind of handy to have something that glows. Of course, Mickey, he shows up all the time. But so they use this radium paint for painting the hands and the time marks on watches, and that became all the craze of the day. So in the 20s, from 1917 through probably the next 10 years,
right.
they had these factories where they hired, I don't know why they just hired women, but it's probably because they were more meticulous,
Probably, yeah.
in doing things.
More crafty.
Yeah. So they hired them to paint the hands and the time marks on the watches, and they wanted them to make sure that the point of the brush was very pointy, and so they didn't want them to wipe the brushes clean to get the point on them,
right,
or whatever, because it would waste too much product. So they wanted them to point them on their lips, so they would
dab them.
They would dab them and get the nice fine point on them so that they could.
So that's with the uranium already on it, or the radium already on it. They're right on their lips,
right, to get that nice fine point. And
that probably didn't end well.
It didn't. No. If you want to look up the radium girls, there's a few documentaries on it and stories, but they really didn't know what they had at the time. In fact, they even thought that the radium had healing properties, and they would put it in water and in toothpaste and all kinds of things to, breathe health back into you. And so even the girls, that job at those plants, that was a really prestigious thing because they got paid well. That's a good thing they got paid well.
I don't know if it mattered in the long run, but
some of them would go as far as coating their teeth.
Oh my God!
Because they want to smile and have this nice big glow, and paint their fingernails and.
Good Lord!
Yeah, and it was finally when their jaws started falling off, they realized, hey, this isn't such a good thing.
That sounds like the makings of a zombie, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. So, but something you can check out. In fact, one of my favorite podcasts is, and I'll give them a shout out because I think they do a great job.
Yeah, we should.
Is My Favorite Murder. Karen Gilgariff and Georgia Hardstark do that. But they had a show they did on the Radium Girls, and that's
really
kind of where I first heard it. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, it's a really good episode. Yeah. So, and I guess they used it because it really, it did murder a lot of girls.
Yeah,
just from stupidity, or not. No, it wasn't stupidity. It was just naivety or naivety. Whatever.
But we talked about that. You and I talked about that recently, about how we discover things and we just throw them out there without knowing the full effects of what we're doing. And this is a prime example of that. Now we got women's jaws falling off because we're using a product we know nothing about. So I guess, this helped us discover what radioactivity does to
yes,
body.
And they did say that we really owe it to the Radium Girls that we know today what measures need to be taken to combat radioactive.
Poisoning.
Yeah.
So in essence, they were the guinea pigs of the time, really.
Unknowingly,
unknowingly, right.
Yeah,
that's very sad.
It really is a sad story.
It is a sad story.
And there's some gruesome details in it too,
Yeah.
So I remember reading about one of the doctors they didn't have to do anything to remove the jaw of one of his patients. He just reached in there and it came right off.
Can you imagine? Oh my God. Can you imagine that? Jeez.
Yeah. The history you don't really hear.
But okay, so here's my question. So we didn't learn from that. That was 1917. It was only a couple of decades later where we discovered nuclear fission, which is the splitting of the atom.
We just keep getting in deeper.
We just keep getting deeper. But, in what I've read in regards to nuclear fission was so when you split the atom, apparently there's a ton of energy produced from that, which in essence could be controlled or not controlled. Controlled would be what we use in our nuclear power plants and nuclear energy. So the thoughts that the Germans were initially doing it as a form of propulsion or energy was correct. But then when they realized that, I think it was done by accident, when they realized when it's not contained, it can create power and really create some shit.
Big shit.
Hence the nuclear bomb. Yeah, so it was Otto Hahn was the one who is responsible for, and a number of other people, but he's the one that stands out for the splitting of the atom, discovering nuclear fusion and fission are two different things. But so
I'm learning.
me too. I'm still learning. So the story goes, from what I researched, and if anybody knows otherwise, please let me know. All you historians out there, would be great.
I wanted to bring up that idea is because if you see our our disclaimer at the beginning of our show, that we don't really do a lot of fact checking, and we're just kind of going off the cuff of
shooting at the hip.
of what we're learning. So we really welcome your input. You out there that really know the topic. I mean, we're just doing this because we like having fun and we like drinking alcoholic beverages.
Well, here's the sad part. The sad part is, especially when you're dealing with something like this, the people that are left from that era are few and far between, and that's sad because all the knowledge is gone. Back in the day, we'd go to the library and look up books, and we'd do the research that way. Now we have the internet, but the problem is with the internet is not everything's factual.
No.
Sorry. Didn't mean to burst your bubble out there, but there's a lot of bullshit out there.
That's where I get my gospel.
It's on the internet, so it's got to be true.
It has to be.
But so the Germans had this technology. They discovered this technology, and it coincidentally it happened to be around the start of World War II. So when this all happened, 1938, when nuclear fission was discovered, we were still 2 years away from getting involved in the war. So we weren't in the war yet. Okay. But I think the Germans, they realized, if you look back at Hitler's regime and the Nazis and the horrible things that they did, genocide and all that, I think a lot of the Germans really said, hey, you know what? We can't let this technology get in their hands, because forget it. If they would have had that technology, they would have been unstoppable.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they would have taken over the world.
Yeah.
And you and I talked about that. There's groups today that want to see Americans dead. They don't want us to be here anymore. So, and they actually welcome death. So they would have no problem using this technology against us to wipe out our, our country.
That's because their powers that be just funnel nothing but misinformation to them.
That is true.
That doesn't happen here, though.
Nope. We have the most honest.
If they could sit down with us and have of course, most of them don't drink if they're Muslim.
That's true.
They don't partake of the nectar of the gods. But if they did and we sat down, they'd understand that, we're all alike. We all want the same things in our life.
Most of us do.
Most of us do.
I would say there are exceptions.
Yeah, because they're tainted.
They're definitely tainted.
Did I get us off? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No. No, we're talking about people that want to kill us. That's pretty.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty appropriate.
There's too many of them out there.
But I think that so the Germans, specifically one German Jew, was, as we all know, Albert Einstein, and he was one that was witness to all this and saw the potential of Germany using this not for energy but using it as a weapon. And he went as far as to write Eisenhower a note or a letter stating that the potential for them to turn this into a weapon, he called it a nuclear bomb at the time, not an atom bomb, but he called it a nuclear bomb. And again, this was before we even entered the war. So this is information that we had prior to, the bombing of Japan and everything. So I think we kind of got a little bit nervous thinking, oh shit, they have this technology. We need to do whatever we can to beat them to this. If they haven't developed the bomb yet, we need to do it first. We need to be the ones that hold this power, which is typical of any kind of big superpower, I think.
Yep.
You want to be ahead of everybody else.
You want to hold all four aces.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think, if you look back in history and you look at what Japan did to us, Pearl Harbor, okay, they talk about that our whole reason for the Manhattan Project, for developing the bomb, was to force Japan's surrender. But don't you think a little bit maybe it was to get back at them for what they did to us?
I would think so.
Yeah. There had to be some of that in there.
Yeah.
Come on, okay, you bombed us, I'm going to show you a thing or two. And again, I think we talk about discovering technology, not realizing the ramifications of it. I think when we detonated the first nuclear bomb in New Mexico, Alamogordo, New Mexico, it was the code name was Trinity. And if you look up pictures of that bomb, it was like a ball. It was like a big ball. It was very different than what the
it kind of reminded me of is a big old searchlight.
Kind of, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they had the tower, and they had the tower they were dropping it from.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just pictures of the bomb itself. It
Yeah.
was just a big old cylinder thing that looked like a big searchlight,
Yep.
except with a bunch of cables coming out of it. Yeah.
But
That was Trinity.
That was Trinity. Yeah. I think once we realized that could happen, and and again, we still didn't know the effects, because our own soldiers, our own people, didn't know the effects until later on, after they got their radiation poison, everything started happening with them. Because you see videos, if you watch old videos of the first bomb going off, these guys are laying on the ground. Like
They might be in a trench, but they're watching it. Whoa, check that out.
What movie was that where he's in the bunker watching it and he burns his eyes? What movie? Was that, like Naked Gun or something like that, when they're watching the bomb go off? Or no, Hot Shots, wasn't it?
Hot Shots.
It was Hot Shots. It was funny because he didn't have the goggles on and it burned his eyes.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Not really. But I mean, this is what our guys were subjected to. We didn't know that. We didn't have the research at the time.
Yeah. They go, oh, that's a nice warm breeze blowing in my hair.
Those pictures, they're laying on the ground just watching the nuclear wind go over them and not realizing, they're thinking, oh, cool, we just, achieved something huge.
And it was huge.
It was huge.
It was it was seen from space as far as we know.
Yeah.
It sent a signal, I think.
Well, at the time, yeah. We didn't know that at the time.
No, we didn't.
So, 1941, we enter World War II.
That was a funny movie.
What?
1941?
I had never seen it.
John Belushi was in that, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was it about?
About the war.
The war? But it was funny?
Had John Belushi in it. I really don't remember too much about it.
I'd never seen it, so we like to drop movies, don't we?
I probably haven't seen it, but...
You sure? You said it was funny.
Well, it wasn't funny. It was a comedy, so... It had to be funny.
I'm going to go rent it now just because you said that. Rent it like there's a Blockbuster available.
Yeah, well, you can rent it off of
Netflix.
Amazon Prime.
Or Amazon Prime, you can do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in 1941, the Office of Scientific Research and Development was formed. So that's right about the time we were getting into the war. So they wanted to make sure they got ahead of the Germans.
Yeah.
Which we did.
Thank goodness.
Thankfully, because that would have been very bad.
Would have been bad for all of you.
Yes.
All of us.
So then we couldn't get, for some reason, even though Japan was taking a beating, we couldn't get them to surrender. They refused to surrender.
Tenacious.
Yes, very much so. Well, think about it. They were the first to use the kamikaze pilots, weren't they?
Well, it's true. Yeah. They didn't have a fear of dying, so.
No. But I wonder what they did it for. I don't think they were looking for 72 virgins at the time, do you? They did it just for because it was
for
soldiers,
the prestige for their families, probably, yeah.
Right. Made them a hero in their culture, I guess it did, right? It scared the crap out of us because then we start going, these guys aren't caring. They're flying their
they don't
planes
care if
in
they
us.
die.
And I think and I'm probably totally off base on this, but I think Pearl Harbor was the first we actually witnessed the kamikaze pilots because they were flying the planes into our ships. I think that was the first time we witnessed it.
Wow.
I could be wrong. Don't.
That's just as crazy because the last time we witnessed it was on 9/11.
Yeah. No, a little different than kamikaze, though.
Yeah. That's lunatic.
Yes. Yeah. But like you and I discussed before, I mean, as horrible as 9/11 was, can you imagine it? I mean, look at all the states that have nuclear power plants.
Us included.
Yeah, us included, right? 90 miles away. Yeah. Yeah. So you brought up that point. What would it have been if they decided to fly planes into our nuclear power plants?
Yeah, as opposed to the towers.
Oh, good Lord. That would be devastating.
Yeah.
It was devastating as it was. I mean, you know, I'm from New York, and it hit hard. It really hit hard when that happened. But, you know, it just scares me to think that, you know, I don't think they'll ever hijack planes again because they'll never get away with it again. There's no way. There's no way anybody will let them.
With box cutters. Huh?
With box cutters, right. Exactly. But there's no saying that they couldn't steal a plane that wasn't a passenger plane and fly it into a nuclear power plant. I mean, that's that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now all we know about radiation poisoning and fallout and all that, it would be forget it. It'd be catastrophic.
For 1,000, how many? 4.47 billion years. Yeah.
I don't think I'd be alive. Probably not.
Yeah.
Our time is so short comparative to stuff like that. Even 1,600 years, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that's 10 or
we're a blink of an eye.
I know, yeah, that's how many different generations.
Oh yeah,
that'd be in 1,600 years.
Good Lord.
So we figure about 5 generations every 100 years, somewhere in there. If you figure 20 years is the time where start multiplying. Your prosperity or your posterity.
So 5.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Sometimes it happens faster than that, but I don't want to get off on that.
No, we can't. So, who do we have to credit for the atomic bomb? Well, there's a group. There goes the table again. I gotta stop doing that.
Tell the bears are gone.
So there's a whole group of people that were involved in. The Manhattan Project was the big project in New Mexico where they developed the atom bomb, but Robert Oppenheimer he's considered the father of the atomic bomb. He was born in 1904 in New York City, so he's a former New Yorker.
Yeah. So he's a native, huh?
So he was, but his parents were German Jew immigrants, so they came over from Germany. Mm-hmm. So he coined the term, "I have become death, the destroyer of worlds," which is pretty much factual.
Yeah. If it came down to it, it would definitely do it.
Yep. Yeah. It's scary, and it's to think about. That's probably one of the most realistic, other than a giant asteroid hitting the planet. Mm-hmm. That's one of the most realistic apocalyptic scenarios I can think of.
Yeah.
And especially today with so many countries having the nuclear technology.
And the delivery time has been cut down so short to give anybody any kind of warning.
Well, I mean, the good thing is we have the time. I mean, our military is the best in the world. I mean, we have the ability to detect. But here's my question. If somebody had 100 nuclear bombs and they launched them all at once, how many are you going to stop? You're not going to stop all of them. You may stop.
It might be tough.
20, 30 of them, but it would still be devastating if that.
So, let me ask you this though. When you're talking about stopping them, while Reagan was in office, the thing they termed Star Wars, the satellites that would shoot them out of the sky and stuff. And as far as the public's been told, that never really materialized.
Right.
But do you think the possibility of it already being done before that was even brought up is a big possibility.
I would say yes. I would say yes.
So there's got to be things in place, you know.
Well,
So
we talked about, if you go back even to our Star Wars episode, you know, we talked about technology today, and I brought up the fact that our Navy now has lasers that can shoot down missiles.
yeah, I mean that's the speed of light. So
Right. But then I go back to our ultimate question that we even asked in our last episode. Where did that technology come from? How do we discover lasers?
I had to do it.
You did it. You opened up the can.
I did. It's like Tim said, there's a lot of cans to open.
A lot of cans to open, that's for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of Tim.
You know, let's talk about Tim.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun with him.
It was a great time.
It was a good time. And I think we'll have him back again.
I think we absolutely need to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he opened my mind more about UFOs than I'd ever even thought of. I mean,
yeah,
the shit he was talking about.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated with the UFO phenomenon. But yeah, he even added more to that for me, you know, of different ideas. And yeah, I would love to have him back.
Yeah, I'd honestly like to know his opinion on the interaction between, you know, our nuclear age and UFOs. Because, see, I was hoping I could tie in the discovery of uranium and the nuclear bomb. I was hoping I could tie that into some alien technology, but obviously we debunked that we really can't.
You know, really, did we? I mean, if UFOs didn't just start showing up, you know, in this past century.
True.
You know, they go clear back to ancient times.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So you saw Cowboys and Aliens, right?
Good movie with Harrison
Yeah, it
Ford
was
and
fun.
Daniel Day-Lewis, wasn't it? Isn't that his name? Daniel Day-Lewis? Or no, what was his name?
What was that? It wasn't that long
He's the
ago.
guy
that
who
I saw
played
that.
James Bond. I want to say Daniel Day-Lewis for some reason, but that was a good movie. It was a really good movie.
Yeah. But so, I mean, if they've been around really since the beginning of written history,
Right. Who's to say they?
who's to say they didn't
Right.
help us out with that? So,
right. Good point.
you know,
Good point. So was it a coincidence that in 1948 that they started seeing UFOs popping up at the nuclear testing sites, the missile silos, and just air bases in general? I mean,
probably not a coincidence.
so
I think, it's like they're looking at us saying, what the hell did you do with this? That isn't what we gave it to you for.
Right, exactly. We wanted you to get more power, not blow each other up.
What the hell?
But it's scary because there's actually some stories out there that you and I have both researched that they actually started messing with our.
Well, yeah. Once we started
missiles.
testing our nuclear bombs and setting them off, I think it sent a message out into the universe that, hey, these guys are doing something stupid. We need to go check it out. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there was reports not only in the U.S. but also in Russia of a few UFOs showing up at missile silos and all that.
Even military bases, right?
Military bases. I mean, all the places, any place that they would test the rockets.
Right.
And, store the weapons and all that they would, on the upside, because if you're working in a silo, of course, you're down deep in the ground,
right.
27 stories or whatever it is. They sit down there. The guards up above would call down and say, hey, we got some funky looking flying machines hanging out around the base. And then all of a sudden the systems would start shutting down. And this happened from what 62?
Well, this was during the Cold War too.
Yeah.
So this was when, you know, Russia started having their nukes, and, you know, there was that potential threat of the attack on the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would have scared the shit out of anybody, because the fact that, you know, the aliens could dismantle somebody's ability to launch, doesn't that give the other side the opportunity? I mean,
yeah.
so
but it's happening on both
on
sides.
both sides. Okay.
So it's like, who's really in charge?
Not us at that point.
Yeah, I mean, they were shutting them down, and something that I heard or learned. My nose is itchy. Learned today was I think in 1982 that there was a launch site in Russia that they were just minding their own business, and then all of a sudden they had reports of UFOs, whatever, flying over, and then all of a sudden their launch sequences started. Yeah, and they were scrambling to shut them down, and it only lasted like 15 seconds, but I mean, that's 15 seconds is a long time when you're thinking, oh crap,
To think
you
you're
know,
gonna be
we're going to
bombing
start in
somebody.
World War III,
Yep.
you know.
Skynet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you know, everything shut down. And so when we heard that report, it actually happened to us like clear back in 68 that they found another report here, you know, in the United States where that same situation happened, where actually the sequence had started.
Really?
But we had an override button.
Oh, okay.
And the override button worked.
We had an
for us.
easy button.
Yeah. It's like, oh crap.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. I think that they're just saying, we're just letting you know who's really in charge here.
Right.
You know?
So do you think they're purposely trying to prevent us from destroying ourselves or destroying the planet?
Well, that's it. I think there's probably two different scenarios that we could go with.
Right.
One is that they're acting as our guardians, protecting us from ourselves,
Right.
which would be the one that I'd like to choose.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. And then of course the other is like, no, we're preserving this planet for us.
Right.
And if you're gonna screw it up,
We're gonna stop you.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, you're just kind of insects to us, you know. So if you start messing things up, we'll get out the fly swatter. And,
Well, squash you.
because we need this planet for our uses.
Okay, so then the question becomes then, okay, we talked about in the UFO episode, we talked about the Anunnaki, we talked about gold being the precious commodity on Earth.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I read that uranium is just as abundant here as gold or silver. It's even more abundant.
And it's more valuable.
It's more valuable.
Yeah.
So are they also mining uranium for their propulsion systems then too?
That's provocative. Yeah, I like that. To think about that. That's possible. Yeah.
Why not? If they don't have, I mean, what if they took that technology from us and that's how they've been able to achieve what they've achieved?
Yeah, so that's the propulsion system.
Right.
But then for conductive value, gold is probably the best.
True.
So maybe they're using both. But back in earlier days, Anunnaki, so we're talking, I don't know how far back. Yeah, they didn't understand what uranium was, but they knew what gold was.
Right.
And so that's the record that was kept.
Do we have to do an episode on the Anunnaki?
That might be interesting. I'd like to know
I don't
more about it.
I don't know anything about
Yeah,
it.
well, I really don't either, other than it's fun to say Anunnaki. The ancient Anunnaki.
And it was cool to talk because you piqued my curiosity when we did the episode with Tim by saying that they were giants.
Yeah.
So I really want to do some research on them now to see.
I don't even know if it's real, but, you know, because I saw it on the internet. But it was a photo of a structure, and I think this one's in South America, where there's a series of steps going up to the top of something, and each step is about 20 feet high.
Oh, good Lord.
And then there's little stairs going up the side, so that we can use
visitors
them.
can go up.
But yeah, you see people standing on these steps, humans are people.
Yeah.
And, there's no way they can even
reach
the top of the step.
Yeah.
So that's one big sucker.
Well, if you look at, all right, so look at the Mayans. Look at their pyramids that they had. The Mayans, they're all it's all steps going up to those too, and they're pretty big.
Yeah, they are.
So,
yeah. So yeah, I think there are some giants around.
I think we need to do some research on that topic. I think that would be cool.
I like it.
So, so okay, so go back to them. The fact that they're mining gold. Okay, they're taking our gold.
I guess they didn't take it all because there were still a lot of gold artifacts found from that era.
But okay, look at nowadays though. I mean, there's still people that pan for gold. I mean, obviously here the big thing we pan for is silver.
Yeah, it's a disease. It's a fever.
It is a disease. Gold fever. So is there a lot of gold left? I mean, or has it all been mined?
I don't know. And is there really gold still in Fort Knox?
We'll never know that. I don't think that was the button you wanted, or is it?
No, it was. It's like, maybe that's all you hear at Fort Knox is crickets.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thought.
I believe you had a theory on that.
Well, I'll go back to the Tim episode.
Okay.
Talking about the Anunnaki and, a hybrid race that they created as, let's go to the zombie thing, Ooh,
okay.
Yeah. Just like in the Haitian zombie, they made them zombies so that they could work out in the plantations and stuff. Well, so we'll go back to the Anunnaki, and they had their hybrid race that they created, possibly.
Right.
That their whole purpose was in mining the gold for the star people.
Star people.
Yeah. So Tim mentioned in that episode that we, at some point after the Roswell incident and all that, made
which was in 1947.
Yeah. So sometime after that, we made a deal with the Greys, was it?
Yes,
Or
there was
some
the
of
Greys from CC.
From CC, yeah. That stopped abducting our people for butchering purposes. I don't know. They still seem to abduct people, but they were returned. But maybe part of that deal was, hey, we know you need some gold to,
But the government had to keep a lid on it though, because they couldn't let people know.
Yeah,
what was
and so
going on.
they went from the gold standard instead of a silver certificate and that currency that we had back in the day to Federal Reserve notes. And now our money's not backed up by that gold anymore. It's backed up by the debt that's created from lending that money.
From lending that money, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so where's that gold? What's it for?
So is that why gold is like $1,500 an ounce right now?
It could be. Maybe we're making a trade. I don't know. It's kind of a fun thought to think about.
Well, okay, so you go back to that. We talk about after Roswell. So we talk about Roswell. We got CC. We made the deal with the Greys. No more abductions. We'll pay you in gold, right?
Theory.
To keep a theory to keep you quiet. So
keep you appeased.
So in I have to look up because I'm not sure the actual. So in 1952, the Air Force puts together a team and they start a project called Project Blue Book. And Project Blue Book, I'll back up. I'm going to back up real quick because, well, I'm not going to back up. I'll go forward, but that's when the group was created. But in 1955, we had it was the year we had the most UFO sightings here in America. That's when the lights were over the Washington when we found it.
Yeah, that's where Marty McFly went back. Wasn't it?
1.21 gigawatts. What the hell's a gigawatt? Anyway. So Project Blue Book was designed to basically debunk any of the UFO sightings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mislead the public.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And one of the members of Project Blue Book team was not captain. He was doctor. He was Dr. Jay Hynek. And we talked about Dr. Hynek in the UFO series because he was the one who put together the encounter scale. So encounter first kind, second kind, third kind, fourth kind. Okay. And found out later, after doing some research, Tim's point was great in that episode because he talked about Spielberg. And he talked about Spielberg making Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and that was a government collaboration to desensitize us to it. But it turns out Dr. Hynek actually was recruited by Steven Spielberg.
As a consultant?
As a consultant.
Oh, that's interesting.
To help him with the movie.
Yeah.
So everything kind of ties together there. But Dr. Hynek was an astronomer, and he was very skeptic about UFOs. He felt in the beginning that there was always a scientific explanation for what people were seeing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he went in as a complete skeptic. By the time the project was done in the 1960s, he completely flipped. He was a believer, and he actually became a UFO advocate. He actually wanted to do more research on UFOs. So his experiences within Project Blue Book made him turn. But he did a press conference, I think it was in the 1960s when he did the press conference, when he talked about how the government just wanted to blow everything off as a weather balloon. It was, I think they even did something with heat anomalies in the sky, which made
swamp
the radar,
gas.
Yeah, all that kind of bullshit that they fed us. So it was just a big cover up from the government. The government did not want it out. The fact that there were UFOs and the fact that people are seeing what they're seeing, and people back then were made to be crazy. I mean, we'll take it as far as the 1970s when we talk about Travis Walton. You know, nobody believed him. Nobody believed his crew of what they saw.
No, they were accused of murdering him. Beginning of it, yeah.
Right. And even when Travis reappeared and told his story, they still didn't believe him.
Yeah, and what did he have to gain from telling a story like that? I mean,
nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, he was malnutritioned and, 5-day beard and
had the
totally disoriented.
The scars on his eyes from when they did the testing on him. And
yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, I understand a little bit more now of why they don't want the public to really know this stuff yet. And I can't say that I don't agree with them.
Right.
Totally. Because I really do believe it would totally unleash the
apocalypse.
There you go.
You and I are on a pretty good wavelength usually, but I was trying to figure out where you were going there with that one. But
that's because I couldn't think of the word.
Well, it would be would it be a War of the Worlds scenario though? I mean, would it be where people are freaking out, panicking, running down the streets?
I don't know so much of well, I mean, there may be some of that, but we're talking like people questioning religion,
right?
And the powers that be. I mean, what? Why are we listening to you guys?
And I agree with that because that's what Tim said in the last episode. Tim said, "Why we got bigger things to worry about? Why are you going to tell me what to do?"
I mean, and then if we learned all of a sudden that we don't need fossil fuels. I mean, these guys have propulsion systems that last for billions of years.
Right.
You know, and we're paying for this. You know, why? That's stupid.
Well, the fuel industry is $1 billion industry.
Yeah, and we're talking 9.8 billion or something like that. I mean, it's more than that as far as the value of it. But people that are employed by fossil fuels,
right?
I mean, directly or indirectly, it was like 9.8 million in the United States.
Wow.
So if all of a sudden they lost their jobs because we have free energy, you know, I mean, things would just really collapse.
Yeah.
And, you know, it pisses me off because I don't want to fill up my tank every week, you know, spend $50-$60 on a tank of gas when I could go out and grab some energy out of the atmosphere and keep my batteries charged. It's that was Tesla's thing, Nikola Tesla, not Tesla's motors. But I mean, that was free energy. That it's there for us to grab.
Yeah, but you got to be careful of the radium factor. You don't want to be glowing going down the street either.
Well, this is energy that's already in the atmosphere.
Sure, yeah, it's already yeah.
So I mean, it's something that we're focusing into, you know, or channeling into charging our batteries. But anyway, yes, it would cause mayhem.
Yeah.
And mass craziness.
But all right, so I'm going to go here then. So Tim talked about, and I keep going back to Tim because he brought up some great points that I never thought of before. You know, he talked about having technology that we can't release for another 50 years. So do you think it's in the making? Do you think it's there?
I think it's there
a little bit at a time.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that those things are being used already
in the government,
right, or whatever power that is, the New World Order. I don't know. Yes, I believe it's already in the works, and that's probably, you know, a good percentage of the UFO sightings that are seen by the public, or it's probably us.
Yeah,
some of the stuff that we have.
But we can't. So we can't discount extraterrestrial life, though. I mean,
no, I wouldn't say that would discount that.
Right.
I'm just saying that we probably have things that are maybe not totally on par with what they have, but still things that would blow our minds if we knew about it.
So you told me a story about, I think it was the Nazis, that you believe that the Nazis were involved, or you heard from this story that the Nazis were involved in Roswell.
It was one of the theories, yeah.
Okay.
That could have been actually a Nazi flying saucer.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate then. So if that's the case, then how did we get Cece from Roswell?
Who knows if Cece came from Roswell? But because there's a lot of other recoveries that were talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually even one before Roswell, I believe.
But they found, part of the story for Roswell goes that they found bodies, though, because they were in the hangar. They did autopsies on the hangar. In the hangar, I should say.
Yeah, like I say, I don't know.
I'd be curious, though.
It would be
interesting
to know.
But, all right, so there goes that question then. Because, all right, 1947, the war's over, right?
It's over.
So the Germans, the Nazis have been defeated. So is it possible, though, that when the Roswell incident happened, that the
Russians were still there.
Brought the Germans in, or the Russians.
I mean, the Germans, I'm sorry.
Right.
The Russians, yeah.
Right.
We were actually working with the Russians, I believe, from what I understood, on developing the technology that we have.
Okay.
But I don't know where the split came, where they became our adversary, but
well, was it
it was probably just the need to be the world power, I guess.
Well, and that wasn't every German, because look at how many German Jews, right? So it wasn't. It's kind of like it's kind of like saying those of Muslim faith are all terrorists. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's one group. So the Nazis were one group. They happen to be a big group. They happen to be an influential group. But who's to say that there weren't Germans? I mean, obviously there were Germans on our side because they were the ones that gave us the heads up that say, hey, we're developing something that could turn into a bomb.
Yeah, we don't want we don't want our regime to have
right,
it.
exactly. So who's to say that we weren't working hand in hand with the Russians, with the Germans, and there are other groups in every culture. There's groups that are going to be the rebels of the group. I would say, so we could have been working with them even during the war. You know what I mean?
True.
So
yeah, no, I think what I found kind of interesting or compelling about that theory that it was the Nazis that we found at Roswell, or at least one of their down crafts, or that they did it on purpose to send us a message,
right?
Is that, hey, look, we're this much further ahead of you, and our government has they need to keep us feeling safe. So it's a weather balloon. If we found out the Russians are still a big, I keep saying Russians, but the Germans are still a big threat to us, then that could have freaked us out, and it compelled our leadership to step it up.
But not so much anymore, because, the space race now, the Russians are in space. Aren't the Germans in space too? I think we're all in space now. We're all exploring.
Chinese,
we all have satellites up there. We all have a stake in the game. So, it's interesting to see how that all.
Yeah,
we're fighting each other, and now we're all.
And maybe it's a perception that we're fighting each other. Maybe that's our
perception?
government's a false perception.
Right.
Maybe our governments are all really working together, but they need to keep us all separated.
Oh, we don't want to work. They're our enemies. We don't need to work with them. I mean, is that what you're saying? Or
want to polarize each group to think that they're with the right group,
right? Right.
And that keeps us from comparing notes.
Well, not to get into politics, but that's kind of what goes on in our own country. Our government keeps us divided as a country.
Oh, absolutely. That's the purpose
stability,
of
I guess,
the two-party system.
Right. So,
kind of detracts our attention from the real issues.
So it's that way on a global scale.
Yeah, so put that on a global scale. So maybe our governments are really all working. Maybe it's not the governments, but there's the shadow governments. The New World Order. That's the whole purpose. We've got to keep us polarized on opposite ends to keep us from comparing notes and from joining forces and saying, we want to know the truth. I don't know.
So are we saying that the New World Order could be our alien conspiracy?
I think so. At least it's something to think about.
It's an interesting point.
It really is. How did we come up with that?
I just made that connection now, thinking of that.
Wow. So, then you're saying that this has been the truth about beer and?
Atomic America. An alien conspiracy.
Oh, man, I got to hit it. Oh, man.
Is it that time already?
I've been enlightened, I think. Or more confused.
No, I think we cleared some things up. I think we know now that, our discovery of nuclear fission and fusion does potentially tie into aliens or extraterrestrial.
Yeah, I really think it does.
I'm going to leave a disclaimer on this episode and say to be continued.
Ooh. What shall I play on that one?
Take your pick.
I think that's
the best choice in my book.
To be continued.
To be continued.
Until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
the truth about beer.